Step into realms where the heart takes flight, where strategy meets the edge of night. The Dungeons, Dragons, and Psychology Podcast. Prepare your mind. Now be our guest.
When you think of the bard, what comes to mind? Is it the silver-tongued traveler with the lute, slung over their back, winning hearts, persuading kings with nothing more than a song and a smile? Or maybe it's of life in the tavern, cracking jokes, making friends, and somehow talking their way out of trouble. But the question I would pose is this: is the bard just a fun class and game mechanic, or is their inspiration rooted in real psychological principles? Spoiler alert, it's the second one. I'm Robert Walker, author of Session Zero, the DMG to writing great campaigns in any system, and this is my show where I teach collaborative storytellers how to have more immersive campaigns using psychology. And today, we're going to be talking about how the bard is one of the best examples of how Dungeons & Dragons mirrors human psychology, particularly in the realms of persuasion, charisma, and social influence. And here's the goal for today's episode. We're going to explore the psychology behind the bard's power, break down why their abilities are so compelling, and most importantly, I'll give you practical tips for how you can use these skills in both your games and your real life. So whether you're a bard at the table or just someone who wants to level up your charisma in the real world, this is your episode. Let's start with the foundation: persuasion. Persuasion is the process of changing a person's attitude or behavior towards something, an idea, a decision, even another person, by using words, stories, or actions. And here's the thing: persuasion isn't magic, it's a skill. And it can be improved. And one of the most famous psychologists to study this principle is Robert Cialdini, who identified 6 key principles of influence. We're not going to cover all of them today, but I do want to highlight the ones that are most bard-like. First, reciprocity. Humans are wired to return favors. If you do something for me, I'm obligated to give something back. Think about a bard giving away song to a weary guard, or passing a drink down the bar before asking for passage into a city. That act of generosity can build a subconscious obligation. Second, liking. We are far more likely to be persuaded by people that we like. And what makes us like something? Things like kindness, humor, attractiveness, or shared interests. Bards excel here. They radiate charm. Charisma is their main stat. They connect and they create an instant sense of rapport. And third, authority. We tend to follow the lead of credible experts. Even in fantasy worlds, if the bard establishes themselves as a wise storyteller or knowledgeable historian, people give their words more weight. It's the power of being seen as an authority figure. Fourth, social proof. Humans are herd creatures. If we see each other cheering or laughing or agreeing, we're much more likely to join in. A bard can start a chant in a tavern, get a few people on board, and soon the whole room is roaring or chanting along. So let's talk about charisma a little bit more. In D&D, it's often treated as a single number on a character sheet, but in reality, it's much richer. Charisma is a blend of confidence, empathy, and communication skills. Confidence makes others believe you know what you're doing. Empathy makes others feel heard and understood. And communication ties that all together. The ability to express yourself clearly and connect your message to your audience. When you see a bard roll a natural 20 on persuasion, that's not magic. That's psychology. Now let's take these principles and connect them to what bards do at the table. Reciprocity. Bardic Inspiration is the perfect mechanical example. You hand out a little boost, and now your party members are not only mechanically stronger, but they also feel supported. They're more likely to trust your judgment, to follow your lead, and to rally around that character. Liking. Take Charm Person. Mechanically, it changes a target's disposition towards you. Psychologically, it's just amplifying the principle of liking. The more someone feels drawn to you, the more open they are to your influence. Social proof. Hypnotic Pattern is basically the extreme version of this. You dazzle a crowd, and once a few are captivated, the rest follow along. It mirrors the way human behavior cascades in groups. And here's something important. The bard's secret weapon isn't spells or abilities, it's emotional intelligence. The ability to read the room, to notice when someone is bored, skeptical, or intrigued, and then to adjust their tone, their words, their approach. And that's what makes persuasion effective. Let's take a moment to talk about something that often gets overlooked at the table, and that is this idea of communicating with the NPCs. Now, a lot of players treat NPCs as just quest dispensers, like a video game where you click the dialogue option, get your mission, and move on. But when you stop and actually role-play these conversations, something amazing happens. The game world starts to feel alive. When you, as a bard, or any character really, invest in talking with NPCs, you're signaling to the dungeon master that you want more depth, more story, and more interaction. That encourages the DM to flesh out personalities and motivations, maybe even create new storylines on the fly. Suddenly, the innkeeper isn't just innkeeper number 7. There's someone with a sick child that the party is worried about and a dream of opening their own tavern. And here's the key. When NPCs feel real, the stakes of the game feel real. If that innkeeper is just a nameless background character, you don't care if goblins raid the town. But if you had a 10-minute conversation with them about their dreams and fears, now you're invested. The whole table is invested if they get involved in that conversation. On top of that, good communication in roleplay makes the party itself stronger. When one player roleplays deeply with NPCs, it sets a tone. It shows everyone at the table that it's okay to lean into the story, to improvise, and go beyond mechanics. That energy is contagious. And suddenly, the entire group is having a richer experience. So do not underestimate the power of a simple conversation with an NPC. It's one of the fastest ways to elevate a game from rolling dice in a dungeon to playing in a world that really matters. Now, let's bridge this into what I like to do at the end of every show, tricks of the trade. This Tricks of the Trade is about turning bard skills into both better roleplay and better real-life interaction. First, for in-game bard, to use this psychology in your stories, listen more and talk less. Don't just spam persuasion checks. Pay attention to what NPCs care about. If a shopkeeper values their family, lean into that piece of the story. If they value gold, emphasize profit. Tailor your character's words to NPCs' motivations. Second, role-play your spells. Don't just say, I cast Vicious Mockery. Think of the insult. Make it clever. Make it sting in a way that would psychologically rattle that particular enemy. This can be not only more interesting for your character, but it's going to be way more fun around the table and create a lot of laughs for your other players. Next, and finally, for a bard in-game, practice your delivery. When you make a persuasion attempt, try acting it out. Use a different tone, sit up straighter, change your inflection. It makes the game more immersive, and it is a surprisingly good real-life practice. Now let's look at the real-life ways of doing this. In real life, practice your own active listening. This is one of the most powerful charisma tools, bar none. Put away distractions, like your phone or your text messages or whatever it may be, and ask follow-up questions of who you're communicating with. Make the other person feel like they are the only one in the room with you. Next, find common ground in conversations, whether it's shared hobbies or values or even frustration. Finding overlap makes people instantly more receptive to you. This is especially important in our world today where there's so much divide between people, especially in the world of politics or religion or any of those other things that people tend to get so up in arms about. I promise you, everybody who you disagree with, there is something that you can agree on as well. And if you can find those common grounds, you're going to have a better conversation and you'll be better able to influence people who may not be normally inclined to listen to your point of view. And finally, in real life, you can master your confidence. Work on eye contact, clear speech, practice body language. Even if you feel nervous, practicing confidence can help others see you as charismatic. It can actually help you become more confident. If you start applying these habits both in-game and in your real life, you'll not only play a more compelling bard, but you'll become one. And that is something really awesome. So let's wrap this up. The bards may sling spells and strum lutes, but underneath that magic is something deeply human, the psychology of influence, reciprocity, liking, authority, and social proof aren't fantasy. They're building blocks of persuasion in our world. And charisma? That's not just a stat you roll for. It's something you can build by practicing confidence, empathy, and communication. So the next time you play a bard, remember, you're not just rolling dice, you're practicing one of the most powerful real-world skills, connecting with others. And who knows, maybe next time you're at work, in a meeting, you're talking to a stranger, or even just hanging out with friends, you can channel a little bit of that bardic magic for yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a reminder, please check out our link tree, and you can find ways to support the show and keep it on the air. There's links to purchase my books. There are links to the Etsy store and pretty much everything else that we do. Until next time, may your charisma checks always roll high, and we'll see you next session.